Hi guys, and welcome back to the Wealth and Wellness Studio, the podcast that's helping you get healthier, wealthier, hotter, and happier. I'm your host, Natalia. Normally I'm here with my co-host, Kat, but we basically have a third host now, and it's Caitlin.
Hi guys.
So as a lot of you guys know, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, the whole goal of this is to really document the process of building my dream life and my friends' dream lives, but also inspiring you to figure out what your dream life is, whether that's becoming a business owner, whether that's building a really healthy family, whether that's achieving your fitness goals, whatever it is that's going to make you hotter, happier, healthier, and wealthier. The goal of this podcast is to just really inspire you to figure out what your dream life is and how do you break that down into like actionable daily habits that are going to bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to go. So today, well, actually, before we get into it, if you guys have not already, please leave us a 5-star review on the podcast. It helps us so much in growing and sharing this with other people, but only if you're going to leave a 5-star review. Otherwise, please don't leave one at all. You can just DM us. We're happy to get your feedback. We know we're not perfect. So just don't leave a review if it's not 5-star, and follow us on Instagram, Wealth and Wellness Studio. We have a lot of fun, like rebranding things coming up soon. And be sure to like and subscribe and all the good things. And you can listen to this on any streaming platform. But yeah, to dive in today, we are going to be talking to Caitlin, she's actually my coach now. She is incredible. Like, honestly, if you guys have not listened to the last podcast that was about personal branding, Caitlin built her personal brand to like 90K on Instagram and growing. I think we're going to celebrate 100K soon, but she had so many valuable things, and it was so much fun to just talk about like who needs a personal brand, because a lot of times we think it's like just for a very niche type of influencer. Mm-hmm. It's really for everybody. But today we're going to be really diving in on the fitness side of things, and particularly about tracking food, which I think I'm going to speak from a female perspective because I am a female. I know that this is something that guys probably deal with too, but I think if you're a woman, tracking food is such a controversial topic.
Yeah, there's a lot of differences when it comes to food and emotional eating and just eating habits in general between men and women. So you kind of need a different approach, like talking to a man about tracking his food versus a woman, because we just think differently.
100%. And I think there's a lot of women a huge percentage of women at some point in their life go through some sort of disordered eating habit.
Yes. Yeah. So the reason, I can just give a simple example. Like if you, as a coach, if one of my clients were to miss a day of tracking, if I were to just send them a message that said, "Why didn't you track your food?" that can come across as like just not very helpful in any way, because then all of a sudden it's like guilt and shame of like, oh crap. Like, as women, we tie a lot of emotion to our food because we tie a lot of emotion to the way we look and how, we show up in our lives. So, when you're working with men and women, you have to be careful with the difference in terms of like how you speak about the food, because there 100%. Is closely linked with like your confidence and just how you're treating yourself and how you're loving yourself. So there's definitely a difference there. Yeah.
Caitlin and I were talking about yesterday how a lot of times what happens is people have a disoriented relationship with food. And so you kind of throw out the baby with the bathwater of being like, all tracking is bad. All like knowing what I eat is bad. Like, it doesn't matter what I eat. Like I should just, when it's like in reality, what you eat really does correlate with how you feel.
Yes.
And there's just like, it's like this tricky line of like, okay, how do we not throw out the baby with the bathwater? And like, if you're trying to achieve a weight loss goal, or there's nothing wrong with having a goal for your physical appearance. Let's like talk about that first.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, I was going to say, like, going back to the analogy you just brought up, like think of it like a pendulum, like swinging from side to side. On one side, especially on social media, you have a lot of people saying like, okay, tracking your food is so disordered. Like you should not be paying that much attention to the numbers. That's too much food noise, like so bad, like just eat intuitively, whatever. And then on the other side of the pendulum, you have people who are more like bodybuilders saying like, it is not disordered to track every single thing you eat. But then also on this side, you have bodybuilders saying things like,
you have to weigh your blueberries.
Yeah. Or like if you go over your calorie goal, you're a failure. Like just like creating some really terrible habits around food.
Or extremely restrictive patterns that lead to like binge eating cycles. And like,
yes, yeah, exactly. So on either side, you have a lot of issues. And so with like my content and my coaching, I'm like in the middle of like, okay, we need to find a way to track our food in a healthy way, because tracking is a tool. it's not good or bad. It just depends how you use it. So we need to find a way to track our food in a good way so that we can create our dream life. Like going back to what we
your
talked
dream
about at the
body,
beginning.
your dream
Yes.
feeling of like, what am I feeding myself? Like, how do I create a life where I get to eat my favorite foods and also be freaking shredded?
Yes. And the best version of yourself, like the dream body, like that version of yourself is not afraid of calories or macros. Like that is a version of yourself that is comfortable talking about that subject. So
100%.
Yeah, it all ties together.
I love that. And also I'm thinking now the next episode we do, we should be eating your mac and cheese.
Yes.
You guys, Caitlin makes the most like macro friendly recipes on the planet. And if you haven't already, go follow her on Instagram. What's your Instagram for people?
My Instagram is Caitlin Brianna Coaching. But yeah, one of my big things on Instagram, like one of my series I've done is eating comfort foods to get shredded, because it combines, it's literally the middle of that pendulum of like comfort foods in terms of like, we're going to be like really like friendly in terms of like the foods that we're eating, and you can eat whatever you want. Like there's no bad foods, no labels, whatever. But also we all want to look good. Like we all want to look good, feel good, do good. So like comfort foods to get shredded. So middle ground.
I love it. Okay. And last thing before I ask you like more targeted questions on tracking.
Yeah.
I just like also wanted to preface this entire episode with saying nowadays we eat so much crap, like as a society overall, that like there's so many, like we're eating like food out of boxes. Like that is not really the way that humans were meant to eat, like to just eat like processed food all the time, which on both ends like is filled with additives, most of the time not macro friendly. And it's crazy that nowadays just eating healthy is considered dieting.
Yeah.
That's like, I wanted to preface this whole episode with being like, I think a lot of times like when people are like, listen to your body, I think there's a time and place for both. But I think part of the issues is if we've been eating food that's been chemically engineered to be addictive to us, your body might be asking for M&Ms every single day, but that doesn't mean that you should be eating M&Ms 3 times a day. And that's going to make you feel good and get you closer to your dream goals. It's the same thing like if you're stuck in a toxic emotional habit for behaviors, like let's say you're limiting beliefs in your dating life, limiting beliefs in your professional business life or in any other direction, just because you're addicted to a bad feeling doesn't mean that you should listen to every urge that you have.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Some of these food companies out there are spending like hundreds of thousands of dollars on just trying to get this food to be so incredibly addictive in terms of like the packaging, the colors. Like there is so much that goes into like trying to get you to grab another chip out of the bag. So in the world we live in today, that's why tracking your food is so helpful, because hypothetically, if we didn't have any processed foods, we only ever ate whole foods, then yeah, tracking wouldn't be quite as relevant, because it's like you're getting lots of good nutrients in every time you eat. But that's not the case 100%. Whatsoever where we are now. So that's kind of how we like find ways to eat healthier when, you know, there are companies out there showing us lots of different options for unhealthy things.
So Caitlin, let's do tracking 101. When I first started tracking, which was a long time ago in high school, and then I did it for like a year, was not really working out for me because I was in unhealthy headspace. And then now I'm like tracking again, but it's so different.
Yeah.
But just for the basics of like tracking, I had never tracked my macros. I think for people listening who maybe like we're talking to someone who has like 0 to 1, like no idea where to start with food tracking. Let's talk about 3 things. Online calculators. Like, because I think some people will look it up and they'll be like, I need to be eating 1,100 calories a day. Maybe they're working out multiple times a day. Like just talk to people like, what should they be looking for? What are they tracking? Calories versus macros.
Yeah.
All of it.
Okay. So 101. Yeah. So you want to always start by using an online calculator. You can just type in like tdeecalculator.net. It's really easy to find. There's a bunch of different ones. You're going to enter in all your information. Basically what it's going to do is it's going to take your height, weight, activity level, gender, everything like that, and plug it into some numbers and give you a calorie goal. It's going to tell you, you know, if you want to gain weight, if you want to lose weight, eat this many calories, eat this many calories. This is where having a coach is really, really helpful, because sometimes you're not completely accurate on things like your activity level, or even like some people miscalculate their weight all the time as well. You know, if you want to be super accurate about it, you would weigh in for a week and then take an average of those weigh-ins. But most people don't do that. They calculate like the day of, which is fine. But again, a coach is going to be really helpful here. Same thing with your activity level. You know, it's going to ask you, are you lightly active, moderately active? I always recommend using your steps as a guideline for that. So there's charts that you can look up. So there are ways to calculate it. And then in terms of like, you know, basing it off your goals, you can go into a surplus. If you want to gain weight, you can go into a deficit if you want to lose weight, or stay at maintenance. But again, having a coach here is super, super helpful because you never know like what is going to be best for you and your goals. So I recommend talking to someone who, you know, knows a lot about bodybuilding or just coaching in general. And then as far as why we track more than just calories. So if you were to track just calories in, calories out, and let's say you were to put yourself at a deficit to lose weight, you're going to be hungry, you're going to be tired, you're not going to be getting the right like nutrients in from different foods. So that's why we track macros. So your macros are your protein, carbs, and fats. Your protein is going to help you gain muscle. It's going to keep you satiated at a lower calorie number. So super, super important. Your carbs are going to give you lots of energy for your lifts. So that's a really, really good one. And then your fats are going to help with hormone regulation and just feeling good in general. And they can contribute to energy as well. So each of them serve a different purpose, but basically in summary, you probably will be miserable just trying to do calories in, calories out because you're going to be eating a lot of empty calories most likely. So you're going to have a lot more of an enjoyable time with tracking if you do macros and calories.
I absolutely love that. When it comes to calculating your macros, how do you know what you're supposed to hit?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different, there's a lot of information online, but again, it really does depend on your goals and your current situation. So for protein, I always recommend 0.8 to 1.2 grams per pound of body fat. That's a pretty big range, but it really does depend on like your current weight, because let's say, you know, you calculate that for yourself and it gives you a protein goal of like 175 grams. As a woman, that's a lot. Like that is a lot on your stomach. Yeah. And you're just your digestive system. I typically never recommend any woman eats more than 150 grams of protein a day because that's a lot. Men are different. Women, that's like a good threshold. And then when it comes to fats, normally you want to be around 40 to 60 grams just for proper hormone regulation. And then carbs, you can fill in the rest there. So again, those ranges kind of differ, and you have to figure out what's going to be best for you based on what you're currently eating, because also you don't want to just dramatically change the foods you're eating because that can have some negative consequences too. So whatever goals that you set, you know, make sure you get a baseline first of tracking like the foods that you're normally eating right now, and then work on it from there.
Which again, working with a coach can be so helpful for this, because I feel like sometimes lack of knowledge can make you do stupid things that are like really extreme and then unsustainable, and they don't work.
Yes. Yeah. And it can hurt your progress in the future too. Like if you were to, you know, severely undereat for many years in a row, that's probably going to require some reverse dieting or some sort of intervention when you do eventually like get back into a flow of eating the right amount of food.
Let's talk about carbs. People villainize carbs all the time. I feel like if you're a woman that grew up in the 2000s, you're watching Mean Girls, you're watching, I mean, you're just like watching like, I feel like the goal was always like be as like anorexically thin as possible and just like starve yourself and don't eat.
That was just the style.
Like that was cool. And then it's like, for anyone who's ever struggled with undereating, you know, like when your hair starts falling out and your skin feels horrible and like not cute. Like
not a good look.
Not a good look. What are your thoughts on carbs? Can you like educate people a little bit on?
Carbs are so good for you. They give you so much energy.
So you don't have to like never eat pasta.
No. In fact, it's the opposite. Like that pasta is going to give you so much energy to go and work out and be healthier. Like it all works together. And another big part of this is like whatever method you choose to lose weight, like you're going to have to sustain for the rest of your life to keep the weight off.
Yeah.
So if you cut out pasta or you cut out carbs, like you're going to have to do that for the rest of your life, and nobody wants to live like that.
To do that.
Yeah, no. That's just not enjoyable.
I love that. Okay, wait. So I was going to say another thing that this is just from personal experience, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, but I realized that when I used to eat mostly processed food, even if it was labeled healthy, which is a lot of times just marketing, it's not always healthy just because it says healthy.
Right.
But eating processed food, I felt like my calories would fill up so quickly.
Yeah.
Because like, let's say you just go to Starbucks for breakfast and now you're like, little breakfast sandwich is over 800 calories. And you're like, shoot, like now I can't eat anything the rest of the day. And then you have a handful of almonds and you're like, I guess I'm done. And it's horrible. Then you're hungry. Then you binge eat because you felt like you didn't eat enough. Like, like what's your kind of advice for people who are like, I guess it was crazy for me because like once I started eating whole foods, I realized, man, I can eat so much.
Yeah.
And I'm like I feel like I've eaten so much and I'm like not even close to like my goal of what I want to hit.
Right.
So yeah, like what's your advice for people who are like used to eating processed? Like, how do you even change your diet? Like habits wise, how do you do that?
Yeah. Well, this is where tracking is so incredibly helpful because there are a lot of foods out there that you don't realize how like calorically dense they actually are, even if they're like super healthy. So like almonds, for example, like almonds are really, really good for you. Like lots of like fiber, healthy fats, everything. But if you were to eat like a few handfuls of almonds, like that's like those calories will add up. And like they do serve a purpose, like they're going to give you energy, but you just have to be careful with how much you're eating and why you're eating them. Most often, if you're snacking on something, you're not necessarily eating because you're hungry, right? Because if we're hungry, we want a meal. If we're just bored or emotional or tired, we go for a snack. And so typically, snacking is usually always like a culprit of like where extra calories are coming in. In terms of how to change this, like when you do start tracking, just simply becoming aware of this fact of like how many calories I'm actually eating in a day or how much protein, everything like that. Just doing that is going to like change so much because it's just going to make you a little bit more just aware of like what you're eating and how much you're eating. And it's so easy to tweak from there. It just takes practice and time of learning, you know, what foods go in. And I think you're going to like this concept, but like tracking your macros is literally like a game. Like you can gamify it so easily because you get to find all these different foods, how to add them in moderation and how to, you know, hit your macros each day. And it can be really fun. Like there are some nights where I literally like, I'll have an extra like 300 or 400 calories for ice cream and I'll eat it and I'll feel like great. Yep. Like super balanced, super moderate. Like, and I had ice cream and I hit all my goals. Like technically like I like lost weight that day because I was like in a deficit. Crazy. It's so fun. It. My favorite game.
Yeah, no. And I think just like anything else in life, like I know we're big fans of setting your non-negotiables every single day and then gamifying the process of like hitting the habits that are going to build your dream life. Because I think a huge problem with people is everyone says, I'm going to finish this. Everyone says that they want to build a business. Everyone says they want to travel. Everyone says they want to save money. Everyone says they want to have a six pack, but like, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis that's actually getting you there? And then when you can gamify that process of like, I'm going to reach out to 5 leads today. Like I'm going to, and it creates a dopamine hit in your brain when it's like, I hit 120 grams of protein or whatever your goal is. Like for me, that's my goal, but like I hit 120 grams of protein. Like I'm like it creates this like high, like dopamine high from something that's actually helping you build your dream life.
My favorite analogy ever when it comes to tracking is tracking your food is just like tracking your expenses. If you were to hire like an accountant or someone to help you with your spending, you're not having them, you're not bringing them in so that you spend no money whatsoever. Just like when you start tracking, you're not tracking to eat as little food as possible. That's not the goal. It's just to understand like where your food is going and how it's serving you.
Same thing. So with beautiful,
right? Yeah. Isn't that analogy perfect?
That's way better than the normal way that I've heard it.
Like this takes the emotion out of it too, because it's really not like about eating as little as possible, like not spending as little as possible. It's just understanding where that money is going, where that food is going, and you know how it's going to affect your goals. And that creates a really, really healthy relationship with food because now you can see, okay, I went over my calorie goal today, but that's okay because I'm just learning. Like I'm just observing like my habits around when I go over my calorie goal, when I go under, like what that looks like, and then how we can, you know, maybe change it the next day or adjust the next day. So that's like my favorite way to view it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I also love that like I'm a huge proponent that like shame is not a super useful emotion.
No, especially for women.
Especially for women. Because I mean, there's a healthy level of like reflection and guilt. And like, I think that that's different than like shame.
Yeah.
Shame is an emotion that drives the cycle of addiction.
Yes.
Shame is an emotion that drives people to usually unhealthy soothing behaviors.
Right.
Like shame is not the most useful headspace to be in for productive behavior.
Yeah.
It's just not. And so something I really love about like what you said is that when you're able to like emotionally detach from being like beating yourself up over making mistakes, I think where people really struggle, not just in fitness, but in life is like perfectionism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you do all of this from a place of self-love and self-respect, it totally changes
I'm
the
getting
game.
closer to my goals rather than being like, if I didn't hit it to the T,
Exactly.
then I'm a bad person. The problem is always the sentence we attach to the behavior. So
Yes.
it's like, for example, I really had to work on this because I feel like I had a very black and white mentality when I was growing up. And I would be like, this is a dumb example, but I crashed my car, so I'm a horrible person. So
right. It's
like
all
a bad
perspective.
example. But yeah. So it's like, instead of something that I've worked really, really hard on is staying neutral with things rather than assigning good and bad labels to everything in life, because I think that that's something that creates shame. And if you're like a shame expert or something out there, like you guys have books on shame. I've read like Brene Brown and like other people, but like you guys can correct me on this if I'm wrong. But I believe that attaching labels to things is a huge thing that creates shame. So like, for example, let's say for business, like I didn't reach out to, or I didn't hit my KPIs for reaching out to 5 leads today. Instead of attaching that to, so I'm a horrible business owner and I'm never going to make it in life and blah, 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 because that's what creates this like low and high roller coaster. It's like, I didn't hit my KPI. I didn't hit my KPI, period. Like,
yeah,
you're not assigning like good or bad value, or it's like, I didn't hit the time that I wanted in the mile that I was running. Again, if you attach so what this means is that I'm a horrible I'm a horrible athlete. I'm never going to make it. I should stop running. I'm going to give all this up. Like that perpetuates a cycle that's like so unhealthy. And instead, like I've worked really, really hard to maintain neutral, because most things in life, like it's really not that deep. It's truly just a game. It's an output thing. It's like, if you put this in, you get this out. If I didn't put this in today, it doesn't mean I'll never put it in. And that mindset will never help you achieve anything in life. Right. So just like, I really believe in like not assigning too many labels and just maintaining more neutrality towards things so that you can actually do the thing and achieve the goal. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. I always think of it as like, you should be like a little scientist in your own life, just like observing and like taking notes. Like,
yeah,
you don't always have to step in and think that like you have to shame your way into acting a certain way. Like if you didn't hit that KPI, you're not like failing if you don't like if you're not like hard on yourself for not hitting it. You just need to observe it, think about why, and then see what you can do next time. Like it's that simple. If you're coming from a place of self-love and self-respect, like there's no judgment whatsoever. So again, that applies to like tracking in terms of like, you're just like observing like, oh, I was really emotional tonight. I went over my calorie goal by like 1,000, 2,000 calories. I'm going to take note of that so that next time I'm emotional, I find a new way to cope with my emotions instead of food.
Love this. Okay, we're going to do a whole separate episode sometime on dopamine eating.
Yes.
Like all of like the psychology behind eating behaviors, because I think that people will find that very useful and applicable in their lives. But to wrap up this episode, what are your top, like, give me like your top 3, well, give me your favorite softwares for tracking.
Okay.
I always make these questions way more complicated than they need to be. Give me your favorite software for tracking, or like your favorite apps, your favorite tips and tricks, and your like favorite macro friendly recipe.
Got it. Okay. Software. MyFitnessPal has just the largest food bank, so that's why most people use it. There are some AI apps coming out, and there are some other ones that have different advantages and disadvantages. But I recommend MyFitnessPal just because almost like it has the largest food bank, which means like any food that exists, pretty much you'll be able to find it in MyFitnessPal, which is just simpler for tracking. And then tips and tricks is enjoy the process. Like seriously, make it so much fun, because tracking your macros is so incredibly powerful. I'm not joking when I tell you, like, you can literally create the exact body you want. You can like see the results you want in the most efficient way possible. It is truly like an amazing tool that we are so privileged to be able to see our food that way.
Sorry to interrupt you. I was just thinking, like, it is seriously so cool that you can gamify your body like that, of like being like, oh, you know what? Like, I want to achieve this figure and like do it in a sustainable way.
Yes. I want to grow my butt. Okay. Here are your macros. Like hit it every single day for years and you're good. Things like that. Like so cool. We're blessed to be able to have like a tool like that and have that knowledge. Okay. And then the last question was, recipe. Well, I'm known for my mac and cheese recipe. So this recipe is incredible. I use chickpea pasta, and then I make a sauce out of it with like cottage cheese and a couple other like ingredients. So it's on my Instagram. You should go check it out because it's an amazing mac and cheese recipe. But I have a bunch of other recipes on there too. I'm really big on recipes that are really simple so that they don't get stuck in your Instagram folder for like months, you know? That happens to me a lot. So really simple, like less than 5 ingredients, really quick to make because, you know, I also understand like a lot of women out there are very busy. Like we don't have a lot of time. So let's make it quick. So quick, easy, and then like really macro friendly. So, and I'm not joking, like you can turn literally any food that you want into a macro friendly meal, anything, like any food, any meal on the planet, you can make it healthy. So, that's a fun way to treat your food and gamify it even more.
I love it. Well, Caitlin, I feel like we're like just like scratching the surface. There's like so much more we can talk about this.
Yes.
And I think, guys, if you want to, honestly, I feel like if you have more questions, you should just DM Caitlin.
Yes.
I don't know if you're down for that. I'm just like
DM me for sure.
But I'm like, I feel like I think just education does so much power for like building habits because it's like, if you know how protein serves you, if you know how fats serve you, if you know how carbs serve you, like if you understand like how calories impact like your energy, your life, your body, all the things, like it takes away some of this like I think a lot of us make bad decisions out of like the fear of the unknown. Like if you don't know something, it's very intimidating and it's hard to like make good habits because you're just like overwhelmed at the process of like not knowing how to do something. So ask all your questions. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah. Also, a lot of people feel really intimidated and overwhelmed when they get into tracking because they think it's this big thing. Just tell yourself it's going to be easy. It really is like easy if you tell yourself it's easy. Like just literally you go to MyFitnessPal and you type in eggs when you eat eggs. Like it's simple. Just simplify
and
it.
Messy action, guys.
Yeah.
Life is not, I think like the biggest thing is like people don't achieve their dream life or build their habits because they're spending so much time waiting to make perfect systems that they never actually take the action. And so I'm such a firm believer of messy action. Like just start doing the thing. It's okay if you track 3 out of 7 days this week. At least you're tracking 3 more than you did last week. Like,
and it's okay if things that you track aren't accurate. Like even if you don't know the exact calories of that meal that you had at that restaurant yesterday, like just put it in, like try it and see what happens.
100%. And if you've read Atomic Habits, like sometimes like if at the beginning you're like spending an hour a day at the gym sounds so crazy to me, or like meal prepping sounds so crazy to me, like can you start by buying like making like a 3 ingredient meal that doesn't need cooking, like a Greek yogurt bowl that will easily give you so much protein and like something you like can you do something where it's like, you know what, I'm not going to meal prep everything this week, but I'm just going to start with breakfast. Like, can I eat a breakfast that has protein in it, takes under 5 minutes to make? And you know what, if you just do that, like, even if you just go to the gym for 5 minutes, like, you know what, that 5 minutes eventually is going to turn into 10. And it's just, I just wanted to remind you guys that building your dream life is not about doing something perfectly once. It's about doing imperfect things over and over and over again until they become like second nature.
Yes, I love that.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much for listening. And be sure to go follow Caitlin on her Instagram, hit her up for coaching. And clearly everyone here is going to get hotter because they're going to start applying this and healthier. But come back next week to hear another episode on how to build your dream life. That's all I really got. Bye, guys.
Yay, bye.